My name is Susan Boyle.
Okay, Susan, where are you from?
I am from Blackburn near Bathgate, West Lothian.
It's a big town.
The moment the world first met Susan Boyle is etched into the collective memory of millions. A soft-spoken woman from a quiet village in Scotland, she walked onto the stage of Britain's Got Talent in 2009 to stifled laughter and raised eyebrows. Her unassuming demeanor clashed sharply with the expectations built up by her modest appearance and slightly awkward introduction. But then she opened her mouth to sing. Her rendition of I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables didn't just captivate, it silenced doubt. It transformed skepticism into awe. In an instant, Susan Boyle was no longer a figure of ridicule. She was a global phenomenon. And yet, behind that voice and the magical moment that launched her to stardom lies a tragedy that is quietly heartbreaking, marked not by a single event but by a series of deep emotional ruptures that fame only seemed to deepen. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more exclusive news. At first glance, Susan's rise seemed like a fairy tale come true. From obscurity to the world stage, her story was framed as one of ultimate vindication. Proof that talent can override prejudice, that authenticity can shine through. But fame has never been a straightforward reward. For someone like Susan, who had spent decades living in the margins, both socially and economically, the tidal wave of sudden attention was overwhelming. She had grown up in Blackburn, West Lothian, the youngest of 9 children, sheltered and protected but often misunderstood. Labeled with learning difficulties in childhood, later attributed to oxygen deprivation at birth, she had never truly felt a part of the world that now claimed to celebrate her. The immediate aftermath of her television debut was a media storm the likes of which even seasoned stars would have struggled to navigate. Tabloids picked apart every element of her life. Fans mobbed her. Journalists hounded her. Every smile, every frown, every misstep became fodder for public analysis. Her mental health, fragile even before the spotlight, was thrust into the harsh glare of publicity. Susan, it became apparent, had never been prepared, not emotionally, not psychologically, for the sheer intensity of modern fame. And therein lies the tragedy. The world rejoiced in her victory, but few considered what that victory would cost her. There was something profoundly exploitative in the way the media latched onto her. Her story, while inspiring, was packaged and sold like a product. Her eccentricities, her vulnerability, her deep-rooted insecurities, these became spectacles. Susan was not allowed to be private, to grow into her new role gradually. The pressure was immediate, unrelenting, and often cruel. She was held up as a symbol of hope, but denied the humanity that should have accompanied that status. Each appearance became a test, every interview a potential minefield. People expected the Susan who had stunned them with her voice, without understanding the person who lived behind it. What makes Susan Boyle's story so heartbreaking is not simply that she struggled under the weight of fame. It's that the very structure of her rise was built on fragility. From the beginning, she was an anomaly in a world that celebrates polish over substance, youth over depth, image over authenticity. She was cherished because she subverted expectations, and yet punished for not conforming to them soon after. The same audiences who applauded her raw talent were quick to turn cold when she showed signs of distress or discomfort. The entertainment industry, with its bright lights and ruthless schedules, has never been kind to the emotionally sensitive. For Susan, every performance required immense internal strength, but the world only saw the product, not the cost. The tragic dimension of Susan's experience lies in the conflict between who she was and what the world demanded her to be. Long before her public debut, she had used music as a sanctuary, a private joy, something deeply personal and therapeutic. But once she became a global name, that sanctuary was invaded. The voice that had brought her solace became a currency others used for profit and spectacle. There was no space for her to retreat, no mechanism for genuine care in the machinery that now surrounded her. Managers, producers, networks, each had a stake, but few seemed truly invested in her well-being. That sense of being alone, even while surrounded by people, is perhaps one of the cruelest ironies of her fame. As she attempted to adjust to her new life, there were moments of visible strain. Reports emerged of meltdowns, hospital visits, and emotional breakdowns. Each time, headlines speculated wildly, often with little empathy. Her struggles became entertainment for the same public that had once cheered her success. There was no safe space, no reset button. For someone with known vulnerabilities, including an eventual diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome, this environment was not just challenging, it was dangerous. The notion that one could be propelled into fame and yet still be so achingly alone captures the aching core of her tragedy. Susan Boyle's heartbreak is not defined by a single dramatic event. It is not a tale of a fall from grace, but of grace being met with relentless pressure, of a gentle soul being exposed to a world too loud, too fast, too cruel. It is the heartbreak of being celebrated in ways that feel alien, of being constantly misunderstood. She never sought the fame that found her. She merely wanted to sing, to express something pure, and instead she became a symbol, a mirror for others' desires and preconceptions. That loss of self, that erosion of identity in the face of relentless expectation, is one of the quietest but most devastating forms of tragedy. It is important to understand that Susan's experience wasn't a matter of being ungrateful or incapable. She possessed immense emotional strength, evident in her perseverance and the grace with which she often responded to invasive attention. But strength doesn't negate suffering. Her heartbreak rests in the contradiction of being loved by millions, but rarely understood by them. Fame offered her everything she had never dreamed of: albums, concerts, accolades, but stripped away the peace she had once found in her simple life. There's something profoundly sad about a dream realized that becomes a burden too heavy to carry. Even in the early days of her fame, it was clear that the structures meant to support her were woefully inadequate. Television shows and talent competitions are designed to discover stars, not to protect them. They excel at finding viral moments, but rarely provide the aftercare needed for those moments' consequences. Susan became the poster child for this gap, a glaring example of how systems fail those who don't fit the mold. Her rawness, which had initially been her appeal, became a liability in a world that demands polish, and no one seemed ready to help her navigate that transition. There is also a deeper, more societal tragedy in the way Susan Boyle was received. Her story revealed uncomfortable truths about collective bias, how people judge based on appearance, age, and social cues. Her triumph should have served as a wake-up call, a challenge to shallow standards. And for a moment, it did. But then the machine moved on, as it always does. The deeper lessons faded, the novelty wore off, and Susan was left to carry the weight of an identity others had constructed around her. In this way, her tragedy extends beyond the personal. It becomes emblematic of how society exploits difference for entertainment, without ever addressing the injustice behind it. Through all of this, what is perhaps most haunting is that Susan Boyle never stopped being the woman from Blackburn who loved to sing. The core of her being, the part untouched by fame, remained consistent, but the world wouldn't let that be enough. She was expected to evolve into a celebrity, a persona, a brand, and while she tried valiantly to meet those expectations, it was clear that the transformation came at great emotional cost. The tragedy lies in the idea that what made her special, her authenticity, was gradually chipped away by the very process that celebrated it. The story of Susan Boyle is not just a cautionary tale about the perils of sudden fame. It's a reflection of how society treats those who dare to be different. Her journey illuminated the emotional violence of public life, the thin line between admiration and consumption. For every standing ovation she received, there was a moment of invasion, of discomfort, of loss. Her heartbreak stems from this imbalance, from a world that applauded her voice but failed to protect the person behind it. It is a sorrow made sharper by the knowledge that it could have been different, that with care and foresight, her story might have been one of pure joy rather than bittersweet triumph. Her fame was meteoric, but it never felt grounded. It was built not on her terms, but on a whirlwind of public reaction and media frenzy. That lack of control over one's own narrative can be deeply disorienting, even traumatic, for someone who had spent her life out of the spotlight. The sudden shift was more than just a lifestyle change. It was a fundamental upheaval. She had to adapt, to perform not just on stage but in life, constantly aware of being watched. That sense of surveillance, of being evaluated by an invisible crowd, adds another layer to the emotional toll she endured. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Susan Boyle's tragedy? What do you think happened next? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.